You want to be a millionaire one day? You want a Ferrari, a Lambo, maybe a waterfront property, maybe a penthouse. Maybe you want to marry a model. Maybe you want to be a governor. You want to be a millionaire one day? You want a Ferrari, a Lambo, maybe a waterfront property, maybe a penthouse. Maybe you want to marry a model. Maybe you want to be a governor. Cover of the magazine. What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
I can act the whole Notebook scene for you. What do you want? Today, we're going to talk about what you need to do to plot your next 15 moves based on what you want. Okay, so enough of this Notebook reference. Let me get right into it on what you need to do with your next 15 moves. Now, this is a reference of another video I did, Think Like a Grandmaster, but I'm going to get into a little bit deeper today. So look, a lot of people have big dreams, but I think the processing on how they go about doing this, most people don't have an idea what to do. This is why I do the Vault Conference once a year where we go 3 days together. The next one we're going to have is going to be in July in Florida. If you want to know more details about it, be down there. But there's a lot of stuff you got to go through, questions, feelings to really get clear about this. This is a glimpse. Let me give it to you on how I think on how to plot your next 15 moves. The first thing you got to do is your massive life goals. What do you want your life goals to be? You literally have to sit by yourself. I'll give you the PDF and start writing them. Everything I just said. Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want this? Do you want to be in a cover of Time magazine, Business magazine, Forbes, Office? What is it? You start making a list of all those things. It's the first thing you do. Number two is you eliminate what you can live without. You may say, I'd like to have a Ferrari. I can live without it. I'd like to have a penthouse. I can live without it. I cannot live without a lakefront property because I love fishing, because I grew up fishing with my dad. And when I fished, my grandpa, when he was alive, we used to go, it's an emotion, I have to have it. Then you have to put that on the list, right? So you eliminate whatever's a small little want and a desire that's exciting but doesn't produce that juice in you, right? Next, identify the top 5 things you cannot live without. So you go through this list and you say, I got to be a governor one day. I got to be president one day. You know what? I got to have that house. I got to be a millionaire. I got to marry a model. Whatever your 5 are, it doesn't matter what anybody. By the way, somebody may say, well, it's so snobby. It's so, selfish, self-righteous for you to want a Lambo. It doesn't matter on what other people say, what moves you. So you make that list, right? And then the last thing is the key. This is the part most people struggle with. Now, these are not small goals. This is not, I'd like to lose 10 pounds. I'd like to, go from a size 7 to a size 5, whatever it may be. These are not small stuff. These are massive life goals. We're not talking small stuff, massive life goals. I want to be an NBA champion. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a billionaire. I want to go into politics. It's got to be massive, right? But this is the problem for most people. The problem for most people is step number 4. Here's what step number 4 is. List them by sequence, not by desire. Which leads to which? Meaning, you may want to go out there and do movies or produce a movie. It may not be step number 5. It may not be step number 1. It may be number 10. It may be number 11. You're eventually going to do it, but you have to get your sequence right. You may want to be a governor one day, but it may be step number 13. It may be step number 12. It may not be step number 3. You may want to go out there and get a lake house one day. It may be step 2 or step 3. Whatever it is, you got to list which one's your number 1. Like, what do I need to go after first that leads me to the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th and the 6th? Too often, you've heard me say this before, too often we get too, ambitious and greedy and we put number 11 to number 2 and then we lose everything and then we start again. Today I had a couple of people that were with me, very well-known bodybuilders, and we were mapping out, and the husband and wife were here, and we wrote out every single project they have going on, every one of them. And they're saying how frustrated they are because everything's going good, but nothing is going great. Now, these are killers. These are not regular people. We wrote out everything there. Then I said, here's some bad news for you. What's that? You got to eliminate some of these. What do you mean I got to eliminate some of these? Which one of these can you live without? Because you got to cut this. I said, what's your number 1? Then we came out with the number 1. I asked them to go out there and think about it this weekend and say, what do you guys want to make your number 1? That's why this is a key thing. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this because you have to know what your number 1 massive life goal is to achieve, not your number 19, your number 1. Number 2 thing you got to do, whose life do you want to model? Now, typically when you hear this, a lot of people may say, I don't want to model anybody. I want to be one of a kind. I want to do it my way. I get it. Even a Trump who did it his way. He modeled after somebody else's life. A part was his dad, a part was his mom. You know, his mom was very foo-foo. She always looked at all this stuff, and his dad was a business guy. And he had a couple other people in the marketplace that he saw that he wanted to look after, right? Even a Rock who did a speech to the Lakers said his game plan when he went to his agency. He says, look, here's who I want to be. He says, I want to be Will Smith, even though Will Smith's part of this agency, I just want to do it bigger. Matter of fact, here's what he said.
I'll share this with you guys, and Will Smith is my boy. And I sat down at that time with the agency I was with, and they said, what do you want to accomplish? I said, I want to accomplish the world. I want the world, and I want Will Smith's career. And I said, and I mean this respectfully because I know he's here at this agency with us, I want to do it bigger and better. And they looked at me like I had 3 fucking heads, and they were like, okay. But I still stayed focused, and I still had still put in the hard work with my 2 hands.
Pretty intense, right? I mean, those are some bold goals to say, I want to be like Will Smith, except bigger. And to even say that this is what I wanted to do. So who do you want to model? So start off by listing names, okay? Here's one guy, maybe this gal, maybe this girl, maybe this couple, maybe this person, maybe whatever it is, make a list. Then kind of figure out which ones are the ones that you want to have a combination of. Somebody may say, you know, I want to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of this. No problem. Mix them up, whatever it may be. Mix them up on who you would like to model. Then you need some homework. You got some homework. Here's what the homework is. You got to go study the route they took to get there. What does that mean? Number one, who did they shadow? Who were they tutelage of? Who were they working under where they had a chance to watch somebody, right? What route did they take with their first 15 steps? Meaning, not their last 15 steps, their first 15 steps when they decided to go out and pursue this. What did they do? You may need to read some articles, book about them, stories about them to really kind of identify what they did. Next, who was in their ear? Very important, who was in their ear. The names of people that was in their ear. It's different than they shadow. Shadow somebody on watching, right? Rock saw his dad. He was a wrestler. He shadowed his wrestler. Rock had his uncle, Simone. He kind of watched what they did, football, all these. People have certain people they shadow, but this is who's in your ear. Who is influencing them? Then it's their strengths and weaknesses, their biggest fall, their biggest victories, and how they recovered from a fall that they had. What was the route that they took? That's to study whose life you want to model. Next one. So you already made a list of your massive goals. You already made a list of who you want to model. You know what the third one is? Here's what the third one is. The third one is taking a pause and visualizing this is going to be you, your life, your massive goals, who you're going to be, what you're going to do with your life. Pause, turn off the phone, turn it around, put it down, turn off the TV, get away from everybody, and just sit there and visualize and say, does this fire me up? Does this get me excited? Does it produce juice? Does it feel like I just had 10 cups of coffee? Does it make me cry with smile on my face? You know the kind of cry I'm talking about when you're smiling on your face, not the cry like you're having a hard time, but you're crying like, man, this is exciting, right? If you get to that state, then you're working on the right place. If you don't get in that state, you got to go back up again because you're just kind of doing it as if it's high school homework. You really got to put some effort into this and think about it. This may take a week or two or a few hours for you to go through. It can't just be something you do. So now again, make a list of your big life goals, whose life you want to model, how does it make you feel, what do you need? Meaning, when I say need, it's a few different things. What kind of people you need in your life? One, who do you need to shadow? What kind of customers, clients do you need? What advisors do you need in your ears? What believers do you need to find? Believers are somebody that believes in you, like somebody that fully knows you're going places. You need believers in your life, right? Even a minimum of one that fully believes in you, you need believers in your life. And number 5 is enemies. You're going to have some enemies. Are you okay with that? It's better to know up front that you're going to have some enemies. You know, I got a text earlier from somebody today, and this person said he's a influencer on social media. You know who he is. And he messages me and he says, I have a concern talking about politics on my channel, and my concern is I have to get over it because I have this fear that people are going to say bad things and it's going to backlash, and I don't want that, right? And my response to this person was, I like this guy a lot. He's a very likable guy. I said, first of all, I don't think anyone's going to have that from you because you come from a curious place. And number 2, if they are, it's going to happen. But you got to be comfortable with that. However, the point is enemies. If you're not comfortable having enemies, you're probably not going to be doing too big of a goal. You have to understand that your family may be an enemy. Your exes may be an enemy. Your next employee may be an enemy. Your ex-friends may be some enemies. But you have to be comfortable with that part. Most people have a hard time. Again, what do you need? People. Next, skills. People skills, sales, networking, social media, marketing, negotiation. What is it? You need some skills. Write them down. Next, tools. You need some tools. What are tools? Phones, technology, software. There are certain tools you need. Resources, money, contacts. How do you get better contacts? How do you get access to your money? Mindset. You can't have a start-stop. You get excited, you come back. You can't do that. So you can't have that mentality. You start, you finish. Or thicker skin. You know, you got to get hit from a lot of different angles. You got to stay tough. So these are some of the things you need. You also have to kind of figure out what kind of a person you need to become for that to happen. That's why I wrote here, mindset. 5, vehicle to get you there. What do I mean by vehicle? Arnold used bodybuilding, okay? Rock used wrestling. I'm using financial industry or insurance. I got into it, and then all of a sudden, boom, look what takes place. Everybody has a certain vehicle that they use. What is the vehicle you're going to be using? Arnold used bodybuilding for 15 years. It wasn't like a small little thing. And then movies, business, Kennedy's, all of these things, but you got to use what tool, whatever kind of a route you're going to take. And last but not least is potential threats. Potential threats could be what? Marrying the wrong person, okay? Somebody you marry, they're constantly like, oh my gosh, you're not here. You're always doing this. I can't believe this. You know, what is that all about? Why does she keep calling you? Why does he keep calling you? That's dragging. But I want to do something big. Oh, boom, pulling you back down. You marry the wrong person. Forget about all this other stuff. Okay, you have to make sure they buy into this kind of stuff as well. And you stay firm with your dreams. Competition. You know, you have to know that you're going to have some competition going there, right? Success, one of the biggest enemies. You win, you will typically forget about this. When you start winning, oh, you know, let me tell you what happened. What happened when you were all excited about the stuff, you were crying? Oh, you know that stuff. Doesn't matter. You know, it's a different story today. I'm 37 years old today. I'm 35 years old today. I'm 52 years old today. I'm sorry. You sat in that chair and you cried when you talked about this. You know, it's called maturity. No, it's called giving up on the big, massive life goal. So you're hiding behind the money and small success that you got. It's okay. A lot of people do it. But when you talked about this and you asked the question, does this fire me up? I remember the look on your face. You got the chills. You had tears. Okay? You were biting your nails. Your foot was going ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. You were all over the place because you were jacked up. You let a little bit of success fool you with this? Come on, man. Come on, let's get back at it again, right? Running out of money, getting bored, wrong people in your ears, and last but not least, forgetting where you came from. So you gotta definitely spend some time thinking about where you came from, because every time you win, more people tell you how special you are. You need to go back and say, don't forget, here's what I used to be. Don't forget, this is what I used to do. Don't forget. Every time I go to LA, I like to visit where I lived. I enjoy it because it reminds me, this is you. For nearly a decade, every morning on Christmas Day in LA, we would wake up at 5 o'clock and go over there just to say, look, man, this is some stuff that's out there, man. I'm the luckiest man alive to be living in the greatest country. That mindset of being lucky comes from knowing where you came from and feeling grateful, even as you're getting new successes and going up. And then last but not least, you got to kind of keep that part of mind that you have no other choices. If you're constantly going, well, you know, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to go over here. If this doesn't work out, I'm going to go over here. If this doesn't work out, what you are not doing in that same speech that Rock gave, talking about the fact that he wanted to be Will Smith except bigger, he says, I go based on a wall. I got a wall and my back's against the wall. That wall with back against the wall mentality produces the sink or swim. You got to make this thing work. Even if you got $100 million in the bank, you still got to have that feeling of you're broke. You got to have that feeling that nothing, oh my gosh, man, I got to make this thing work using that same brood. You cannot get soft once you start winning. Having said that, again, this is just a few minutes of me giving you an idea. By the way, just so you know this, we do this and go through case studies at the Vault Conference. Once a year I do this, and it's not just a bunch of stuff that you come through and take your own notes. This is a manual that everybody, by the way, this is a trademarked manual that everybody gets when they attend the Vault Conference. And this year's we're going to do it in Miami. If you haven't yet registered, I'm going to click on the, we're going to put the link below somewhere. Go click on the link below. I think it's July 6th through the 9th. We have a lot of different sessions that we'll have at this event, a lot of different speakers. Some of the sessions will be CEO with me and founders. If you want to have the private session with myself, there's going to be about 100-something people that will be with me. That's questions back and forth, and then the session will be nearly 4,000 people in Miami. So if you haven't yet registered, click on the link below. If you want today's PDF, what I just covered with you, if you want today's PDF, Send a text. If you're in U.S., if this is outside of U.S., you will not be able to text us. 310-340-1132. Once again, 310-340-1132. Or if you want the PDF, you're out of state, you can simply go on the link below. We'll put a link below before the PDF. Click on that, put your email in. We'll email you the PDF as well. You'll have access to it. Print it out, go through it, and